Hi everybody, welcome back, glad you could tune in again. So it is about 5:45 on Wednesday evening. We've just finished one of the Bible and theology classes for the young people at All Saints. Actually, we've just finished all three of them. And in the final class of the three, the class where we're working through Calvin's Institutes as the main part of our introduction to theology, we've actually been reading something different for the last couple of sessions. Been reading this fantastic little book by Michael Reeves called The Good God, which I think I've mentioned before. I certainly hope I mentioned it in the previous devotions that I spoke about on the doctrine of the Trinity, which is the subject of this book. And we just picked up something which I thought is so insightful and helpful and widely misunderstood, at least in circles where it's noticed. And I thought it'd be worth sharing it with you. We noticed the well-known clause in the Athanasian Creed, which highlights how important the doctrine of the Trinity is. And I want to read it to you and then say a couple of words about it. Here's how it goes. Whoever shall be saved, before all things it is necessary that he hold the Catholic faith, that is, the Church's faith, which faith except every one do keep whole and undefiled, without doubt he shall perish everlastingly. Just a pause there. So Athanasius is raising the stakes pretty high. He's saying that if we are to be saved, we must hold the Church's faith, and if we do not, we shall perish everlastingly. Well, makes sense. So far, so good. But then, notice what he says. And the Catholic faith, the Church's faith, is this, that we worship one God in Trinity, and Trinity in unity. And that's the bit that often causes perplexity and confusion and even nervousness among people who notice this clause in the Athanasian Creed. Can it really be that Athanasius, or whoever penned this creed, it may not have come from Athanasius himself, but be that as it may, can it really be that this creed is saying that unless we articulate the doctrine of the Trinity precisely, we cannot be saved? I mean, it's one thing to say that the doctrine of the Trinity is true, we all believe that, but how many of us would really have the confidence to say we really can articulate it fully and clearly and confidently? And Athanasius, or the Athanasian Creed at least, seems to be saying that unless we recognise and hold this faith that we worship one God in Trinity and Trinity in unity, we cannot be saved but will perish everlastingly. What are we to do if there is a danger that we might not fully understand this deep and mysterious doctrine and be lost forever as a consequence? Well, the truth of the situation becomes apparent as you read on through Reeves's book. Just a few chapters later, when the point that the Athanasian Creed is trying to make becomes clear. It's not that in order to be saved, we've got to articulate in detail and with precision the doctrine of the Trinity. Of course, it would be a good thing if we were all able to do that to some degree, and we'd all benefit from exploring this deep and wonderful doctrine a little bit more deeply, but it's not the case that there is this extra doctrinal test. Unless you can pass and achieve a sufficiently high grade in your Trinity exam, you won't be saved. Rather, it's almost the other way around. It's that the confession at the heart of our faith, which is that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, is itself an implicit affirmation of the doctrine of the Trinity. To put it another way, anybody who's a Christian, anybody who believes that Jesus is the Son of God, anybody who believes that Jesus is Christ the Lord, is, whether they realise it or not, a Trinitarian. To say that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, is to affirm the doctrine of the Trinity. And it's worth just thinking for a second why that is. If we say that Jesus is the Son of God, well, to say that he is the Son necessarily means that there is a Father. You can't say Jesus is the Son of God without also saying that God has a Son. And for somebody to have a Son, they have to be Father. The affirmation that Jesus is the Son is an affirmation of the fatherhood of God. But what about the Spirit? We'll think about it a little bit more. To say that Jesus is Christ means that Jesus is the Anointed One. That's what Christ means. It's the Greek form of the Hebrew word which we transliterate as Messiah, which means Anointed One. Messiah from the Hebrew, Christ from the Greek Christos, both mean anointed. And what is Jesus anointed with? Well, of course, he's anointed with the Spirit. We see that at his baptism, when the voice from heaven comes down and declares, "You are my Son," when the Spirit descends upon him like a dove. So to say that Jesus is the Son means that there's a Father. To say that Jesus is the Christ means that there is a Spirit who has chrismated, anointed him, made him the Christ. And so that's what the Athanasian Creed is getting at. It's not saying, great, you believe in Jesus, now here's an extra doctrinal test you've got to pass before you can be one with Christ in glory. Rather, it's saying that the mere affirmation that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, is itself an affirmation of Trinitarian faith, and without that we would perish everlastingly. Well, that at least is something that we've been looking at in the Bible and theology classes. And as I said to the young people just 10 minutes ago or so, I think I'm going to go out and record a devotion just to cover that little part which we looked at in the last 5 minutes of our class today, because I thought you might be interested in hearing that as well. I hope that's an encouragement to you. May the Lord bless you, and I hope very much to see you soon. Bye for now.